Something really strange is happening in the financial markets right now. I mean, we're seeing major economic news, the kind of stuff that should be making huge waves, and it's being met with, well, a collective shrug. But then, the slightest whisper about artificial intelligence sends entire sectors into a complete tailspin. So what on earth is going on here?
Okay, just look at this. The Supreme Court makes a major ruling on tariffs. GDP growth comes in at a really sluggish 1.4%. A few years ago, either one of these headlines would have sent the market into a frenzy for days. But now, crickets. It's like a big collective yawn. Nobody seems to care.
But then you look at the other side of the coin. A company like Anthropic announces some minor new feature, and bam, the entire cybersecurity sector sells off. An analyst posts what they literally call a thought experiment on social media, and investors just freak out. It's this extreme, almost allergic reaction to anything related to those two letters, AI.
It really feels like the market has a one-track mind. It's just decided to ignore everything else, inflation, geopolitics, you name it, to focus on this one single, all-consuming question: what is AI going to do to our world? And maybe more importantly, what's it going to do to the value of, well, everything?
Now, this obsession, this anxiety, it isn't just coming from nowhere. It's actually being driven by a very specific and, frankly, a very alarming vision of the near future. And it's all laid out in this one hugely influential report that has completely captured Wall Street's imagination. So that report comes from a firm called Citrini Research. And honestly, it reads more like some kind of economic science fiction novel than your typical analyst note. But here's the crazy part. Investors are taking it very, very seriously. I mean, just look at the title. It's designed for maximum shock value, the 2028 Global Intelligence Crisis. Doesn't exactly sound like a calm, measured forecast, does it? It sounds like the poster for a disaster movie. Okay, so here's the core idea. The report predicts that within just a few years, these autonomous AI agents are going to completely replace the middlemen in our economy. So think about companies like Visa, which handles our payments, or DoorDash, which coordinates getting our food delivered. The report says AI is going to do these jobs for almost nothing, creating what economists call perfect competition. That's a scenario where prices are driven down to rock bottom, basically destroying the entire business model of these huge established companies. But all this disruption, it apparently comes with a massive human cost. The Citrini report is forecasting a shocking 10% unemployment rate, specifically for the white-collar middle class. Basically, all those jobs are just systematically automated away. And if entire chunks of the economy are being made obsolete, what happens to the stock market? Well, the report forecasts a 40% collapse in the S&P 500, all by the year 2028. This, right here, this is the apocalyptic scenario that's fueling so much of the market's anxiety. It's a terrifying vision, for sure, no doubt about it. But it brings up the most important question of all. Is this future really set in stone? Is this AI apocalypse truly going to happen? And is it really coming in just 4 years? Because, there's a whole other side to this story. There's a powerful counter-argument to all this hysteria. So I think it's time for a reality check. We're going to walk through 3 really strong arguments that push back against this super dramatic 2028 timeline. So we're going to break this down into 3 big ideas. First, what history has taught us about this kind of technological panic? Second, the hard physical limits that are standing in the way of AI's growth. And third, the unique and maybe underrated advantages that people and established companies still have. All right, first up, let's talk history. This brings us to a classic economic idea called the Luddite Fallacy. It's that age-old fear that new tech is going to destroy so many jobs that there just won't be any work left for people to do. And the reason it's called a fallacy is that so far, it has never, ever come true. I mean, think about it. From the printing press to the PC, new tech has definitely killed old jobs. But by making things cheaper and more efficient, it frees up our time, our money, and our creativity to invent entirely new industries, new services, and new jobs that nobody could have possibly predicted. The second rebuttal is all about cold, hard physics. The kind of AI takeover we're talking about would need an absolutely insane amount of electricity and specialized computer chips. And right now, the world simply does not have the power grid or the chip factories to support that kind of explosive growth by 2028. These are real physical bottlenecks that you can't just solve with better software. And the third point gets into something Warren Buffett famously calls a business moat. A moat is just a deep, competitive advantage that goes way beyond technology. It's something that is incredibly hard for a new competitor, no matter how smart, to copy. So let's apply this idea of a moat to AI. Sure, an AI can write code, but can it instantly replicate the decades of consumer trust built by a company like Visa? Can it build the massive, complex physical network of drivers and restaurants that DoorDash has? Can it navigate all the legal and regulatory hoops in these industries? These human moats are incredibly tough to get around with software alone. Okay, so if the 2028 apocalypse isn't a done deal and there are these really solid arguments against it, then what gives? What explains all this chaos and volatility in the market? Probably the best way to think about all this chaos is to see the market as being in a massive, messy, and, often painful learning mode. This isn't just random panic. It's the sign of a global system trying to figure out, in real time, how to value things in a world that might be about to fundamentally change. The old rulebook might not apply anymore, and the market is literally trying to write a new one on the fly. And every piece of news, no matter how small, becomes a new data point in that really turbulent learning process. So what does this long-term shift actually look like? Well, first, investors are scrambling to figure out which companies are truly AI resistant. Second, we should probably all just get used to high volatility. It's likely the new normal for a while. And third, and this is maybe the most interesting part, we might see a human premium emerge, where skills that AI can't easily replicate, like real creativity, good judgment, and deep trust, become more and more valuable. So at its core, the shift in thinking is this. The old view was that software was one of the safest bets you could make for growth. The new view, pure software is actually super vulnerable to being eaten alive by even smarter AI. The value is shifting away from just having efficient code to having those things AI can't build overnight: trust, brand, and real-world logistics networks.
Which leaves us with one last, pretty provocative thought to chew on. The arguments against the 2028 crisis are strong, especially those about the physical limits. But it really makes you wonder, are those bottlenecks, our limited power grids and chip factories, the only thing standing between us and that apocalyptic scenario? And if they are, for how much longer?